If I had $1 for every ad online that said I was just one funnel away, I'd be so rich I wouldn't even need that funnel. Everyone's saying it, but are they right? Heck no. In this video, we're going to reveal why it's not the funnel that you should be so concerned about and the secret to the thing that you should be focused on instead. I'm LizJSimpson, founder of the Big Money Movement, accompanied by
Cheryl Parks
and Heather Petherick,
our esteemed coaches here at the Big Money Movement. Heather, I'm going to kick it off to you. All this talk about funnels. What's the real deal?
Oh, funnels. You hear about it all the time, but maybe it's just me. I like to work smarter, not harder. And so when it comes to funnels or an alternative, I'm going to take the alternative, which is, are you ready for it?
Let's go, drum roll.
It is strategic and intentional conversations with my ideal buyer. Instead of slaving over, agonizing, and obsessing over tweaking some funnel, I would rather just talk to my buyer and learn what are their challenges, their goals, their needs, and the problems that I can solve. That is going to have a bigger payday any day rather than tweaking obsessively over some funnel.
When we talk about conversations, I love that you talked about intentional strategic conversations, right? So we serve women entrepreneurs through the Big Money Movement, and these are women professional service providers who are focused on corporate clients.
Yes.
And so we find like the quickest path to cash.
Yeah, the closest to the money is the conversation with the actual buyer, the person that has their finger over the budget button that's ready to spend to solve their problem. And I'm going to get way farther, faster, actually having a direct and intentional conversation with them than sending them through some archaic funnel where they may or may not actually have a consultation with me at the end.
I love it. And when you say that, like from what we see with the women that we serve, the challenge too with the funnel is because they've not had enough conversations with the marketplace, they don't even know enough. Like you haven't had enough conversations with them to even know what to put on a page.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know we have our women track income producing activities, and more often than not, it's like you've barely had 2 to 3 conversations.
Yes. And yet you've spent tons of time, money, and anguish designing some funnel that may not actually get you to the end game that you want to. It's almost like I see funnels as putting like the cart before the horse.
Right.
The cart being, I think this funnel is going to work, or I hope and I pray that it will, instead of putting the horse first, which is getting out into your audience or into your market and actually talking to them about what they need and how they want it delivered.
Love it. What I find is that a funnel also can't fix a positioning problem.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So when we talk about, just to your point, putting the cart before the horse, strategically, you always want to get positioning first. And that's what we teach our women to, focus on when they first come into the program. And when we talk about positioning, it's like the bedrock of your marketing and sales efforts, right?
Yes.
It's the foundation, right? And so if someone's wondering what positioning is who is your buyer, what's the problem you solve, what's their desired transformation, what's their status quo, right? So what are they facing right now in their day-to-day? What have they tried before? What are their initiatives? What type of budget do they have? How do they make buying decisions, right? All of these things are things that you should know. And you strategically need to decide who you're going to be in the marketplace. Like, how are you going to define yourself? When others are talking about you and you're not in the mix, how do they describe you, your expertise, and the value that you bring? And the challenge, too, with a funnel is if you have not mapped that out and you think a funnel will fix it, it's like messaging is everything.
Everything. And positioning is everything.
Right.
When I think of these two things, like strategic conversations or creating a funnel, I love that you said bedrock, right? Mm-hmm. Strategic conversations with actual buyers is the bedrock of your business.
Right.
Whereas I see this efforting to make this funnel, it's like this shaky scaffolding. Yeah. You're not sure if it's going to hold. You're not sure if it's going to take you to the place that you want versus having actual conversations with people. I love that.
Agreed. So I know we focus, we help our women in what we would consider the B2B space, right? The business to business space. And even for, say, B2C, where funnels make more sense, I don't think people put enough respect on how much work goes into building an effective funnel in the B2C space, right? Like the copywriting, you're constantly tweaking because what a funnel is supposed to serve as you should know your buyer so well that when they read the language on the page or they're going through the actions of the funnel, that it just aligns with their desired buying process.
Yeah, and they have that sense of, how does she get in my brain?
Right.
She knows exactly what I'm thinking.
Right.
But you cannot get to that level of effectiveness in a funnel until you've had so many conversations with your buyer that you know it cold.
Yeah.
So it's conversations first, always. That's the bedrock. And then when you truly know the market and you have that repeatability, that proof of concept, then maybe let's talk funnels. But funnels cannot save you if you haven't had those conversations yet.
So Cheryl, I know through the Big Money Movement, we've trained thousands of women through our events. We have hundreds of women in our accelerator. And I think we see a trend of why women want to run towards funnels. Can you talk about what's the real underlying reason why people tend to want to run towards a funnel?
Yeah, so we call that being in the lab,
Yeah.
right? So there's not any reason to be in the lab and trying to build anything, including a funnel, before everything that was just mentioned. At the end of the day, a lot of times it's just the fear of getting out there, picking up the phone, the good old-fashioned way, meeting people, sitting down with them when you're able to do that, and actually getting into those strategic, intentional conversations. Sometimes it's just the fear. It's fear of rejection.
Yeah.
The big one that we see with the high performers that are in the program is the fear. It's being the expert and then not wanting to go back to elementary school because you've always been looked at as the expert.
Yeah, you got all the answers.
Right. I'm big on looking at it in every moment you could be the leader or the student. And it's really important to know when to shift that and listen to your buyer and understand what they need and ask more questions. And then also in sales, lead the conversation because your buyer is looking for you to be the leader.
Yes.
But they're not looking for you to know every answer and do everything to perfection.
Yes.
That's not what they're looking for.
That's right. And not looking for you to, slap some prescription to them. They want to know that you've taken the time to really understand intimately their business model, their challenges, their needs, and their goals, and where they're going to get to. One of the things that you said, Cheryl, that I think is so genius around this fear, this hesitancy, and this desire or this impulse to run towards funnels as our savior when we don't know the buyer that well yet, is because they don't, our clients sometimes don't know how to have that strategic conversation.
That's it.
Right? They're used to having all the answers or knowing a process. And so this is a shift. And so one of the things I love most about our program is we give our members real step-by-step guidance on what does this conversation look like? How do we even set it up, frame it, set the expectation, and use the time effectively so that when our members come in, while they maybe are afraid of doing this because it's a new process for them, we really give them the steps and the clarity so that they can have confidence even when it's the first time they've had this conversation.
Yes. I think one of the things, too, that women have said is really effective when they come into the program is that auditing their time. Because they come in saying, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. I don't know where I would find time. Women are like, well, how many hours a week should I dedicate to the program? Because I'm so busy in my life. And so we have them audit their time and what are you so busy doing? How much of your time, and it's crazy, right?
Tweaking a funnel?
Tweaking their funnel. It's all the busy work, to your point, Cheryl, in the lab. And you're like, yes, your calendar is full, but of all that time, you have no time scheduled in conversation with executive buyers. There's no time facing the market. And to your point, they love the busy work because the busy work gives them a reason to avoid their real fear. And one of my favorite books is Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown. And it's keep first things first, right? There's no way you're going to land a major consulting contract without at least having a conversation with the buyer. So if that's the step you need, then to Heather's point, get to that first. Yeah, learn from that. Anything else on the fears, Cheryl, that you see that you want to speak to?
So this is a carryover. It's point 2A, looking for permission, right? So a lot of times, and we all have this in us, we're looking for someone to tell us where to go and exactly what to do and exactly what that should look like.
Yeah.
When in fact, it's a high contact performance sport. Sales, you have to be in it. You're gonna learn. I mean, between us, we've got probably almost 100 years, 75 years? I don't know. I kind of tipped the scale. But anyway, But being in it for such a long time, the part of the fun of it is you're always going to get new information.
Yes.
There's never a time when I can say, oh yeah, check. I got all these questions answered and it's going to proceed this way.
100%.
It's not like that.
Right.
So, and your buyers know that it's not like that. And your buyer will tell you at all times, oh, but we're different. No, I know that you do
we're
what you
unique
do.
in this way.
Yeah.
We're very unique. You wouldn't understand. So it's uncovering all of those things and being excited about it at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah, falling in love with that discovery process. That's really what
Yes.
it takes.
Yes.
I love that.
As we wrap up too, I wish sometimes there was enough noise in the marketplace, if you will, about just the amazing possibilities that exist, right? You know, those who are pushing funnels are doing an excellent job putting that narrative out there. But I also think so many people don't realize the possibilities to work with businesses and organizations and how simple.
How much more simple it can be.
Yes, how simple it can be. It makes me think of one of our clients. I'll name her Rachel for the purposes of this. But Rachel was someone in the program through one conversation landed a six-figure corporate client, right? No funnels, not positioning. It wasn't because of a fancy website. Do you want to touch on that, Cheryl? I know you were intimately involved in helping her get that deal. That six-figure deal across the finish line.
Yeah. So what I saw from Rachel was that she really embraced the idea of having the conversation, even with all of her fears and all of her kind of, I'll call them self-limiting beliefs at the beginning about her exposure to corporate and working in corporate and the fact that what would I be able to give them? And she embraced it and went forward. And literally some of the footage I saw from some of her calls, they were embracing her every step of the way because she was an outsider.
Yeah.
And they really valued her fresh view and her fresh perspective on how to solve problems. And because she was working with the sales team within this very large organization, they were actually watching her process.
Of course, is she modeling?
Yes, she's
what she
modeling.
says she's going to do.
Exactly. And that was another key point for them, was that the way you're doing this is the way we want our sales team to do it.
Yes.
So it's also really important to know when what you're providing to your buyer, your client, they're looking at you as well to see if exactly what this isn't for everyone, but there are some people that are providing a service and they literally need to be modeling the way that they're doing it for the client or for the buyer because they're watching you.
Absolutely brilliant. I just, when I think about Rachel, her story touches my heart because that one conversation was a six-figure deal, and that just changed the trajectory of her business and thus her life, right? That's how simple it can be. So if you want to learn more about how to grow your business with corporate clients, make sure you stay tuned on our channel. Matter of fact, in this next video, we're going to talk about, is working with your spouse a bad idea? I don't know. Check it out in the next video. Click now, and we'll see you there. Bye.